It's been more than 6 months since I have been on Skillshare as a creator. If you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me pitching my Skillshare classes to you on my videos. But is it really worth it to have a class on Skillshare? What kind of money could you expect to make on a Skillshare class? So I thought now would be a good time to do a rundown of everything that I've made on Skillshare, how the payment structure works on there, and if it's something that would be right for you if you are interested on making a class on Skillshare. So how does Skillshare's payment structure work? Well, Skillshare breaks down its payment structure into 2 different sections. One of those ways is that you earn royalties through the minutes watched by viewers that have a paid Skillshare subscription. So it breaks your minutes down into 2 ways. One is by total of minutes watched, and one is by the premium minutes, meaning people that pay for a premium Skillshare membership, which is their annual subscription. Only those minutes give you money on Skillshare. There's a percentage of Skillshare's net income per month from all memberships that goes directly into paying Skillshare teachers. And depending on how many minutes you have watched on your platform, you will get a percent of that money pool, if you will. And this is very similar to a lot of different platforms. YouTube even has a similar structure where you get a portion of the ad revenue just by people coming to watch your videos. Now, the other way that you can get paid through Skillshare is through the referrals. Now, Skillshare recently changed the way that their referrals work. It used to be that you would earn, I believe, $10 for every time that somebody would sign on for a premium subscription. So that's a little bit different now. Now, every time someone signs up through your Skillshare link, the amount you earn off of that student is 60% of their first subscription payment. So the breakdown is a little bit different. It used to be easier to tell how many people you signed up per month just by seeing if it was $10 or $30 or $50. Now, with it being a percentage, it's a little bit more complicated, but you do have a possibility of earning more or less depending on how they signed up through Skillshare, if there was any discounts that they applied, but we can get into exactly what those referral payments look like a little bit later in the video. So, and now that we covered how Skillshare payments work, let's talk about me. My classes. Creating a Skillshare class can be as easy or as tough as you want to make it. Some classes can be as little as 10 minutes. Some classes can be up to an hour, possibly more. And of course, they are broken down into slightly smaller sections to carry you through the class a little bit easier. Currently, I have 2 classes on Skillshare. My very first one is how to get your first job as a video editor. That one is 44 minutes long and currently has 171 students, which is incredible. My second course is how to become a YouTube video editor with Premiere Pro 2022 Essentials. So a little bit longer in title and in length. It is an hour and 15 minutes and it has 145 students currently, which is just insane to me. Like when I think about that, from where I started months ago, it can be really hard to even get 10 or 20 students on your class, especially when you're first starting, because Skillshare, according to what I've learned, Skillshare does have a feature where when you first launch your class, if you can get around 20 or 25 students within the first 2 weeks, it will be advertised better by Skillshare. And so that is a really hard goal to achieve. And now looking at what I have now on my Skillshare platform is just insane to me. And I'm really proud of how far it's come in less than a year. Now, before I get into the payments, I do want to note one thing, and that is the time in between my first and my second class. Obviously, the more effort and content that you put into Skillshare, the better Skillshare is going to pay out to you ultimately, because the more content that you have. So I knew that going into Skillshare that I was going to want to continue to creating multiple classes in order to make it worth the time and money that I put in. December of 2021 was when I launched my first course. That's how to get a job as a video editor. And it wasn't until May of 2022 that I launched my second course, being a YouTube video editor with Premiere Pro. Just an important thing that I want to keep in mind, that that was the time in between me launching both courses. All right. let's get into the money.
I like money.
So the way the money started for me on Skillshare was pretty predictable. I didn't expect to make a ton of money at the beginning. In fact, making even $50 was like amazing for me, because something passive like a Skillshare class is not necessarily going to make you a ton of money at the beginning, but it's the long-term, constant, evergreen income that is the appealing factor for most people. So in December 2021, in that first month of me having one class on Skillshare, I made $55 in royalties, and I had one Skillshare referral. So that was $10 according to the way Skillshare used to do their referrals. So that was one referral, 55 in royalties, giving me a total of $65 in my first month, which for me was still pretty exciting. It was exciting to make that money after all the work that I had put into making that first class, because I do try and put a lot of effort into them. Now, of course, your hope is then that money continues to grow month by month, but unfortunately that did not happen to me. The second month I earned $25 in royalties, $20 in referrals, so I had referred 2 people, giving me a total of $45 in the month of January, which, by the way, got paid out to me in February. It always takes the whole month, and then it takes like 2 weeks kind of for it to process. So I get paid for that month mid next month. So of course, getting $45 compared to $65 was kind of discouraging, especially because I had advertised my class in January, but I'm not going to continue to advertise it like crazy. I mean, I like pitching it on my videos, but I am not going to try and do a whole nother surge. And so for me, this is probably around the time that I thought, man, I need to start thinking of what my next class is going to be, because I can't imagine that this is going to continue to get better and better. Skillshare is not going to look at my class that didn't have that many followers and think, oh, we better push this forward so more people watch it. More likely, it's going to get just shoved into the back, which actually continued to happen, because in February of 2022, I earned $23 in royalties and $10 in referrals, meaning I referred one person, which still very exciting, giving me a total of $33 basically that I earned from February. So it's continually going down. This is getting very daunting for me. And while it's still, of course, money coming into my pocket, that's amazing. It was here that I really started thinking, is it worth continuing on creating classes for Skillshare? Because $33 is great, but if it's just gonna keep going down, I'm going to get super, super discouraged, which of course it did. In March of 2022, I earned a measly $19.45 with no referrals. And that definitely was a low point for me, because I was in the midst of making my next class. And while I knew that making my next class and submitting that and launching that would give my channel a boost, it still doesn't feel great to be putting in all this work. And then you think, wow, I'm only earning $20 a month. Is it just going to keep going down more and more? Like, am I even ever going to reach even $100 a month? So it just started to feel very not worth it for me. But I kept going. I kept working on my class. And so we move into April of 2022. Now, again, my class had not launched yet. It doesn't launch until May. But I had a small little surge. So either the Skillshare gods came down upon me and thought, hey, let's give her a break and push her class out. Or by just some luck from me advertising it on my YouTube, I had more viewers that month because it did shoot back up a little bit, and I earned a total of $46 in the month of April. Again, no referrals. So at least it wasn't $20, and I could use that as a little bit of fuel in the process of creating my course. It was almost done being launched by April. So it definitely felt good to have a little bit of a boost before launching my course. All right, so now let's get to May of 2022. At this point, I had launched my new course. It is in the early days of it being launched. I still had no referrals earned from my work in May, but Skillshare, again, just shined upon me. And for the month of May of 2022, I earned a total of a whopping $73 for that month, which is the most that I've ever earned so far on a month per Skillshare. So that, of course, made me feel a lot better. The fact that I had finally launched my second course. And at the time, I wasn't really planning on launching another one for a while. while because they are incredibly exhausting and expensive. And from December to April, I had really only made like $200 or so, which is nice, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, is it really worth it? So it definitely felt good to be making more money in May. And now I just kind of had my fingers crossed to hope that it would continue to grow. Now I hit a little bit of a sad spot last month in June of 2022 because I had gotten no referrals and I had earned a total of $77 in royalties in the month of June. Now this is great. Again, this is the most I've ever made, but it's very similar to last month at $73. So it was a little bit discouraging again to think, okay, I just made my second class. I've given it a whole month to sit and I'm still only making $77. So at this point, I'm like really on the verge of, is it worth it having a Skillshare class and investing money into Skillshare? And maybe this is just me being impatient. And it's also important to talk about here the fact that when you're relying on another platform, be it YouTube or Skillshare or really any other platform that's not yours and you're not controlling the price, there's pros and cons to that. One of those cons is that the money that you make takes a lot of time to develop, if it even develops at all. You're relying solely on another platform to sell your course, other than me pitching it on my own, in my own ways, like on YouTube. But you are still depending on another platform versus you can create a course on your own and you can use sites that are like online course creators and have it be all on your own, and you create the funnel and you create the entire page for your own class. And at that point, you can sell it for whatever you want. You can sell it for $50, you can sell it for $400. But you are then putting in a lot of effort to create everything that goes into making that course and driving every piece of audience to that online course. Versus on Skillshare, you have people coming across your videos just by being on Skillshare, or you have them coming across it by you advertising it, or you have viewers coming across it because Skillshare has recommended the course after your video does, a certain level of performance. So these are things that I had to tell myself when it came to only earning $77 in June, because this is the decision that I made when I wanted to start creating more online classwork, is that did I want to invest all that time into it myself and force people to pay an absurd amount of money for one class? Or did I want to invest in something like Skillshare where people come watch my class and then watch thousands of other teachers and really get a better value for the money that they're investing into Skillshare, which is something that I can get behind. Now, the last data point that I have for you is my earnings from July of 2022. While it is the end of August right now, I won't receive that data until mid-September. So currently I only have my earnings from July 2022. This is essentially the reason for why I made this video for you today. Because in the month of July 2022, something happened. I don't know what happened exactly, but there was some kind of surge on my Skillshare platform, or maybe it finally is in the process of taking off. Because in the month of July 2022, in royalties, I earned $133, and in referrals, I earned $99, giving me a total in the month of July of $232.15. Where did that come from? I have no idea. I didn't advertise my class any differently than I had been advertising it for the past few months. And the $99, again, is where you'll see that in this time, in the past few months, Skillshare has changed their referral platform. So I really have no idea how many people I have referred within that $99. I don't know if that was one person. I don't know if that was 5 people. I have no idea. I guess it doesn't really matter. I like to know from, my own, like how many people watched and clicked on the link, and it's kind of a cool stat to know. But I mean, maybe I could try and figure it out if I can find out how much that first month of Skillshare payment is, but it depends, depending on if you had gotten a discount or whatever. But besides all that, it doesn't really matter, because the whole point of me making this video today was to say that after all those months of not making very much money money. It is so satisfying to finally get a month where I'm earning a substantial enough amount of money. Now, again, still $232 is not that much money, but compared to what I had been earning and the fact that now I feel invigorated with this monthly payment to make another class, which then over time would again keep increasing the amount of money that I'm making. And this is after 8 months of being on Skillshare, mind you. So it has taken me 8 months to get to a point where the money that I'm making per month is pretty good. Now, then you start to think, okay, Colleen, that's great. That might have just been a fluke. What are you earning in August? I cannot tell you exactly what I'm earning in August because I won't see the referrals until they come in one bunch whenever the payment gets displayed. However, Skillshare is pretty cool in that they do give you an estimate on how many paid minutes have been watched so far on your platform and the estimate of how much your royalties might be. And so as of today in August, I have had 1,700 paid minutes watched, and their estimate is somewhere between $70 and $130, which is kind of a wide estimate. But if I know anything about what happened last month, my hope is that I will earn at least $100 in August as well. Again, can't say anything about what the referrals will be, but I at least have higher hopes than what I had in the past couple months that my classes are finally starting to actually take off, which then, as I mentioned, gives me a little bit more motivation to work on my next course that I am planning on doing for Skillshare before the end of the year. So you probably all want to know, what is the total of what I've made so far? I have, again, been on Skillshare for 8 months. In that time, I have gained a total of 314 students, which is super awesome. I have gained 8,000 minutes watched, which is always nice to know. And the total earned for my 8 months on Skillshare with my 2 classes equals $592.20. Nothing to write home about. But that's $592 that I wouldn't have had if I wouldn't have decided to make these Skillshare classes. Now, I talked about this just before, but would I make another Skillshare class? Yes, absolutely I would. And it's interesting when you are also coming from having a YouTube channel and you are working on Skillshare, because there's similarities in the two in terms of your target audience. And I think it's important to understand your target audience before you decide to make a Skillshare class. I think it's important to do your research and go on Skillshare and look at the classes that are already on there. If you're looking to actually teach a class, search for that class on Skillshare. How many people have done it before? How long ago did they do it? Is it time for new, fresh content? Or what can you bring to the table that other people can't bring to the table? Now learning what I have about Skillshare and about YouTube, when I create my next class, it's going to be from what I've learned about what does really well on YouTube and how I can transition and turn that into a very helpful Skillshare class that will help transition the students that I already have into becoming better and better video editors. So it's going to be important for me to stay again within my niche, appeal to the current students that I already have, but with a class that they would be specifically very interested in knowing. Would I recommend Skillshare? If you haven't sensed it by now, yes, I would recommend Skillshare to other creators under certain circumstances, like what I just mentioned before, understanding your niche and your target audience and doing your research on the class before creating the class. If you've watched any of my classes on Skillshare, or if you've even just watched my YouTube channel, you'll see that I talk casually to the camera and it's not anything incredible that I'm doing. I'm not shooting an immense amount of B-roll, but I do put a significant amount of effort into my videos on YouTube and into my classes. Definitely more so into my classes. I try and put enough amount of an effort that they are better in quality than my YouTube videos, but they are similar in the structure and the style because it is me and I do have a specific style and I want that to be displayed on Skillshare so that people enjoy both my Skillshare classes and my YouTube channel. I think there is definitely a balance between quality and quantity on Skillshare where you want your class to be the best that it can possibly be, but you also don't want to spend so much time on it that it takes too long to upload on Skillshare. And because of what you just saw, how the money didn't really come to me at first, which then makes you think, okay, if I'm not going to be making a ton amount of money from this in the first few 6 months to a year possibly, do I want to spend an immense amount of effort into this class when in reality, if I can just get it up there and get it to start earning money for me, then maybe I can improve and use those improvements on my next class. It's very similar to YouTube in that sometimes you just have to get the content up there and out there, but you also want to make sure that it is very watchable for your target audience and that they will actually enjoy the class and get a lot out of it and find that there is value that they couldn't necessarily find on YouTube, which would make them want to invest in a premium Skillshare membership, which is then going to earn you money. So I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have for you if you are interested in creating your own Skillshare class, is that the money is probably not going to fall into your pocket super quickly unless you have a very big following on YouTube and you're able to pull a lot of people over from there very quickly. Or maybe the topic that you want to do is a highly searched topic and there's not a lot of people in that niche or doing videos that answer that question. But either way, I would put just enough effort into it so that people like it and they continue to watch it, but not too much effort that you feel like you wasted all your time making this class that nobody's going to watch, because it is a slow process getting started on Skillshare. But once you can get your video up there and get it going and maybe expand on it and create multiple classes, I do believe that it can be a great form of income for you on a passive level that can grow over time. Now, if you are a video editor and you are looking to grow in your field, my classes on Skillshare may just be right up your alley. You can get all the details on my classes and receive a free month of Skillshare just by clicking the link in the description below. So definitely check that out if you are interested. Thank you to my team. Again, I am Colleen and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.